Okay, Mark, as soon as you hear recording started, the morning is yours. Actually, I'm going to introduce you. Okay, for those of you that know Mark, well, you know that you are super excited having him here, and I'm going to tell you very quick a little about Mark. Mark, I met Mark many years ago in a company was Usana. It was Mark's first company. It was my second one, but my first one lasted only 6 months because went from bankruptcy, and he was very successful there. Eventually, he became a million income earner. Then he went to another company where he became super successful, and he's one of the legends. He had created more than 100 people earn over $1 million. He himself had earned many, many, many multi-million dollars. And the fact that he's here, I'm super excited because he not only is a person with an incredible experience on this our business, but really he cares about people. He knows the basics of the business. He lives in Utah. And again, I'm really excited working with him because for years we were working in USANA in different groups, and then we went different ways, and now we are back working together. That's super exciting for us, for my wife and I. But anyway, Mark, you are ready. Go ahead.
Can you hear me? Do an audio check.
Perfect.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you, George. Thank you, Adrian, for having me come in and spend a morning with your team. It's always a pleasure. It's not lost on me. It's a special day today. It's Veterans Day, so I want to give a shout out and a word of thanks to all of our veterans that are probably on this call. I'm sure we have a few. Your service is not lost on us. All the things and sacrifices that you and your family have gone through. So thank you so much. With that, let's get started. When Adrian asked me last week what a subject that I could talk about, I wanted to bring it back to simplicity. I was having some very interesting talks with some of the other leaders, and sometimes I think as we start to grow our businesses, sometimes we just forget the basics. And so I'm going to dummy this down to you, but hopefully as I dummy it down for you, because I love to keep things super simple. If you're going to grow a business, let's keep it super simple. If I were you, I would take notes because I am going to teach you today the most important thing there is to learn in your direct sales business. And so I'm gonna take you back 36 years. That's when I said yes to this industry. Like those of you know that my story, I wasn't looking for the business. I really knew nothing about this business model. I had a friend that was another bellboy at the hotel I worked at, and he found out about it through a friend of a friend, and he was all excited. And with all the excitement of his youth, he said, "Mark, I think we found a way to make $1 million." And I was kind of thinking to myself that it was pretty lame, and I really shut him down. I wasn't interested. And I look back 36 years ago, and I'm just grateful for my friend that he exercised something I refer to today as polite persistence. He just didn't give up on me. So the first thing I want you to understand that it's okay to love people, meet them where they are, use a little bit of polite, persistent encouragement. All you're trying to do is get them to take a look. That's it. So what he did is he did a little course correction after his I would say the verbal vomit that he exercised on me the first two times. He kind of course corrected, and it's okay for all of us to course correct when we verbal vomit on somebody and we know that that there's value there, and we want them to reconsider. Do what he did with me, and that is, "Hey, Mark, again, at the end of the day, I don't know if this is for you or not. All I know is I'm excited." So he used that. He took it away. He didn't know if it was for me, but he said, "All I know is I'm really, really excited about the possibilities. And you're an amazing friend. I think the world of you." He paid me a compliment. "And I just think you'd be amazing at this business if you would only take a look." Now, I want you to do me a favor, Mark. Pay friendship dues if you will, but just do me a favor and take a look so you can make an informed decision, because I think it's that important. Now, you can always tell me no, but it would mean a lot to me if you would just take a look, put your eyes on it so you can make an informed decision. So that's how I started, folks. That was a really good course correction. Hopefully, for some of you, you can do that course correction. At the end of the day, we just want people to put their eyes on this. And for our part, we have to do a good job of passing on good information so they can, um, a good presentation so they can actually have a shot at getting excited about what it is we're doing. I went to my first meeting at 21, and it was a gentleman who was pretty seasoned in the business, and he gave a presentation. And immediately, I had learned the kind of money that he had made. And so right off the bat, that kind of intrigued me because I had never heard of anybody making that kind of money. You hear it in the distance, but you never, I mean, the kind of money he was making at a young age, I think he was probably late 30s, was enormous. And I never talk income on this, but it was a very, very big income in his late 30s. And then I learned something that was even more meaningful, is that if he stopped working, that income was leveraged income or a passive residual income, and that if he stopped working, that income would keep coming in. Now that really fired me up. That really, really intrigued me. And I thought, how do I make this kind of income? And some of you know my story a little bit more than others. You know that when I was a young kid, playing sports at a high level, I put myself in a situation that when I was faced to make a career decision in my life, I wanted freedom. More than anything, I wanted my time freedom. I was not chasing money. In fact, if you were to say, Mark, would you rather make $100,000 a year residually and have it permanent, and just be able to walk away $100,000 of your income, or make $1 million and have to work 80 hours a week? I would choose the 100,000 residual any day of the week. So that tells you my motivation was not really money driven. It was time freedom. I wanted to be able to, as a father, show up to my kids' events, never miss an event, because that's what I was faced with. Is when my parents, raising a very large family, when it was time to come to their kids' special events, whether it be sporting, dance, or whatever, they were not able to go because they were too busy in life. So that was the requirement for me. And when I heard him talk about residual income, I heard some buzzwords. I heard residual income. I heard freedom. How would you like to own your life? Freedom. And how would you like to have a residual income that if you stopped working or slowed down working, it would keep on paying you? And all I could think of is this seems to be pretty exciting. And again, I was looking at it for the first time. I didn't understand, but there were some buzzwords there that really were intriguing. So after the meeting, believe it or not, I found myself, that feeling where there's like a level of excitement but confusion. Has anyone ever had that? That was kind of what I was having. Is like, what if? You start thinking, what if I venture out into this unknown territory of direct sales network marketing? And what if I am teachable? What if I can learn this business? And what if it will work for me? That's where I was at 21. I didn't know. You don't know what you don't know. And I was really impressed with the gentleman in front of the room. So I asked for a private meeting with him. Now, remember, I'm a nobody 21. I had never had any level of success at all. I was in school full time. I was just a bellboy at the Marriott Hotel. And I was shocked when my friend said, yeah, he'll meet with you. And so I got to hang out with a young 30-something-year-old millionaire that had built a really substantial business. And I had a whole bunch of questions that I was, that I had previously written down, and I asked them all. And when everything was said and done, he said, "Now, can I ask you a question?" And I want you to write this down, because this is the closing I have used for 36 years, and I've closed thousands of people. So you may want to either record this or write it down. But this is what he said to me. After I asked him all the questions, he turned around and asked, he said, "Can I ask you a question?" I said, "Sure." He goes, "Mark, what are you doing so great in your life right now that you can't take a chance on your future, your dreams, to do a business like this that has the potential to change your life forever?" And he just looked at me. He didn't say another word. Have you ever heard in sales, whoever talks first loses? This was my first experiment of understanding somebody that really had a understanding of sales, because he just sat there and I was really uncomfortable in my, it was just awkwardly silent. And he just sat there and he looked at me, and he wasn't going to say a damn word until I said something. And he just sat there. He had asked his question. I'm dumbfounded. I don't know what to do. I'm feeling really uneasy. And then finally, I said what I only thing that came to mind is I'm not doing anything that great. And he said, "Great. How do you want to get started? You want to, there's three packs. There's kind of a good, better, and best. So let's talk about the three packs." And he went right into a good pack, a better pack, and the best pack. And then I immediately, it just kind of went from there. And so that was my, my first week in direct sales before the process for me to say yes. It was, all of us we go through that process to say yes. And I tell you this because a lot of people have gotten to that process where they've said yes, but then it's like, what next? Okay, you said yes, you're on the greatest products in the world. Any of you that are already in three, you already know the quality of our products. I don't need to, they are the best of the best. And so I remember sitting down with them, and I told this gentleman that I really wanted this to work for me. And he said, okay. And then he went on and he said, "Look, Mark," he said, here's what I'm willing to do. I am willing to match effort for effort, but I am unwilling nor interested in babysitting you. Because now keep in mind, I'm 21. So he put it out there real quickly, as I am not in the babysitting business. Babysitters make $5-10 an hour. I'm not interested, and I will not do it. I won't waste 1 minute of my time if I'm babysitting you. Now, if you are teachable, you are hungry, and you want to go to work, I'll tell you what, Mark, I will match effort for effort. Whatever you bring to the table, I will magnify it. And that was really appealing to me. And so I said, okay. And so I learned something early on, is that babysitting in this business will get you nowhere. Teaching, mentoring, and growing and matching effort to those that have more experience than you is the only way to go. So I hope you guys take that to heart. We're not in a babysitting business. It's time for every one of you to step up, grow, be the leader that you need to be in your business to grow a big, effective team. Okay, that's what it's all about. Now, this is the subject matter I'm going to talk about today. So I said, what's the first thing that I need to do? And so I'm going back to 36 years ago. He said, "Mark, you need to get," it's called the 2x2 formula. Write this down, the 2x2 formula. He said, you need to get your two, and you need to understand that this is the most important part of everything we do, is you need to understand that you get there too, they get there too, and so on and so forth. There is no weak link. You don't have the luxury of not getting your two. Everybody, and repeat what I say, everybody gets their two, period. End of story. No weak links. Now, if you understand that concept right there, do you realize that if everybody just did what I said, everybody would win in this business? How many of you guys knew that? If everybody got their two, became their very own best customer, what do I mean by your very own best customer? Okay, you're being your very own best customers. You've got your array of products. You're picking the products that are most exciting to you, that you feel like will make an impact on your health, and you are taking those products every month faithfully. You are your very own best customer. That is what this whole business is about. We are out trying to find millions of people that become their very own best customers. They don't ever not order their products. Okay, so I learned that early on, is that everybody becomes their very own best customer, and then everybody gets two. Okay. And so he said, let's go out, get your names list. He told me to get a names list. Now, he told me to start with my first 25 and then report back the next day. So what did I do? I went and got my 25 and I reported back the next day. Then he said, okay, now it's time to build. Then he taught me a concept, and I hope you guys are writing this down. Mark, if you run out of people to talk to, you're out of business. Don't ever allow yourself to run out of people to talk to. How many of you guys have ever found out, kind of as you started building your business, found out that you were kind of out of business because you ran out of people to talk to? Has anyone ever felt like that? Yeah, we all have. So don't let it happen. And so anyway, he said a number that I've learned that seems to have a predictable outcome is when you have, he basically, I perfected it, but it's building by the numbers. He said, get a list of 250 people. And ultimately, when you do that, there is a ratio to yes and no that you need to understand. But if you want to have a full-time career path in direct sales network marketing, you're going to need approximately 40 yeses. Now write that down, 40 yeses. Okay, that is a career path in direct sales. Now, are you going to do that overnight? No. Okay, that is a process. That is your career path. That is a process to get your 40 yeses. So basically, I learned that it's going to take about 250 people. As you sort through the numbers, that you'll have about 200, maybe 210 no's, and you're going to have about 40 yeses. Okay. Now, I just taught you something pretty valuable there. Hopefully, you guys, these are real numbers. These have been proven. I have proven these numbers over and over and over again. So if you want a career path, something that it'll produce a full-time income, which I say is close to probably, I don't know, 8, 10,000 a month or what have you, you're going to have to go through about 40 yeses. And that's hard. Okay. But guess where we start? We go back to the beginning. We start at 2. We don't worry about 40 until we get our 2. See, too many people get right in. Well, I got to go sponsor 10, 20, 30, 40 people. I got to go and they haven't even sponsored the first 2. So I'm only telling you the career path of 2020 vision, which is 40 people, 20 on your left, 20 on your right. I call it 2020 vision because that is the career path. You're trying to get 20 on your left, 20 on your right, and you're trying to balance the legs. But we're going to go back again. We got to start with 2. 2 is the magic number. Have you got your 2? And if you have your 2, are they on SmartShip? Yes or no? These are the questions you ask you. And if they're not, then replace whichever one dropped off their SmartShip, replace them. Anytime somebody drops off AutoShip, you're going to replace them. But you always are going to have your 2. Then what you got to do is you got to set the agenda, the goal, to help them get their 2 in the first 7 days. That's the deal. They come in, there's a level of excitement. If somebody's not going to do something in their first 7 days, chances are they're probably not going to do anything anyway. Okay. So while they're hot, while the stove is still hot and cooking a little bit, move, action. Okay. Start that process. Help them. Get them on, between George and Adrian and all the other team events, there are so many events of qualified experts that can do effective and good presentations so that you can show the plan and show the plan in a very, very powerful, good, strong way. And so use that to your advantage and start. I know that there's a presentation tonight, and then there's going to be the corporate call right after the 7 o'clock. We have a CEO corporate, kind of the State of the Union. You never want to miss these things. Get your people on those things. But it goes back. So once we've got our 2, okay, here's the deal. Your next focus is to help them get their 2. Okay, that's your focus. That is your absolute focus. Okay. And this is kind of where that whole idea of babysitting versus leadership and somebody that is really committed. Are they willing to go out and help and work on their own business and get 2? Now you can hold their hand at the very beginning to help them get their 2. When I sponsor somebody, I tell them that failure is not an option. You're going to get your 2, period. You're going to get your 2. Everybody has to get their 2, and that's just the way it works. So let's go get your 2. It's just part. And the sooner we have 1 million people with that kind of language and commitment and passion and energy, you'll see this company explode like no company's ever done. It's just going back to the basics. If we could just get 1 million people to get 2 people, oh my gosh. Problem is that we're not doing what we're supposed to be doing. We're just not getting it done. And when you guys come in and say, okay, I have a new resolve. I'm getting my 2, period. They're gonna learn to be their very own best customer, and I'm gonna help them get there 2. Now, if they don't, do you babysit or do you move on? No, you move on. But it's part of that posturing and that tone at the beginning of getting your 2 that is the magic. When you first sponsor them, we'll say, okay, we're going to do this. We're going to do this today, George. Okay, we're going to get you in, pick your pack, And then let's get your list of 25 and let's get your two this week. That's what I did. Okay. Then as soon as they have their list of 25, then I turn around, I help them get their list of 250. I tell them to work on the list of 250, and I always say things that can be done after hours. Everyone's got, we're so all freaking busy. I get it. I'm as busy. I have an autistic kid that just at my age, he'll run circles around. He keeps me busy. And we all have a million things to do. And what I learned early on is that sometimes I just needed to stay up a little bit later, things that can be done after hours when mom and dad and kids are asleep. That's when I built my list. I'll be honest with you. That's when I built my list, is just things when I could just be me, my phone, and just my own thoughts, saying, okay, I go on Facebook, start picking through your names and say, oh my gosh, I haven't talked to this person in 5 years. Just start putting your names together, get that list of 250. And then again, you guys have heard it. I tell you, to be honest in your business, I teach the concept of, the power of the 40 yeses, understanding you're going to get about 200 no's. And so go get a candy jar, just a little exercise, put 250 candies in it. And every time you get a no, I always say, go enjoy the no, eat your favorite candy. Boom. And I'll tell you what, by the time you're done with those candies, guess what? Your chances are, if you're an average person, by the time you've eaten 210 candies, chances are you'll probably have your 40 yeses. Okay. I've done this experiment so many times. I can't even tell you. And I can tell you the last one. All I can tell you is it works. That's all I'm going to tell you. There's been some incredible success with that. And so I teach you this because a lot of times we just forget the basics, the power of two. The thing I want you to, if you're hearing my voice today, I want to know that every one of you have got your two. They are faithfully consuming their product, that they have committed to be their very own best customer. And then we move them along and we help them get their two. Okay. Two turns into four. This is what I'm going to be preaching. I was talking to other leaders. I said, you know what? We've got to dummy this back down, guys. We have just forgotten our roots. The thing I love about this plan is the simplicity of the power of two. If you're in a breakaway plan or a unilevel plan or what have you, the thing is when you understand the power of two and just two legs, in compensation, you need to understand there's a point of security in your depth and wealth is in your width. So your security is in your ability to go deep. Okay. What I love about that is you can actually make commissions and have a reason to work in your depth beyond 7 or 8 levels. In a traditional unilevel, if you come to me and ask me to do a three-way call and you've got somebody, you're on my 10th or 11th, 12th generation in a unilevel, chances are I'm not making any money on you and I'm probably not very motivated to help you. In this plan, there is no excuse for any leader not to be motivated to help you because we get paid in our depth, and the depth is security. But guess where the wealth is? So yes, you may get overflow. Okay. So once you get two, does that mean you stop and pat yourself on the back and say, oh, I got my two. They're on auto ship. I taught them to get their two. I'm done. Is that the attitude? No. Do it again. Do it again. Go get two more and do the exercise again. Okay. And once you get those two started, they're on auto ship. They're on smart ship. Everybody's on smart ship. Everybody is on smart ship. That is the backbone. In my 36 years, there's never been 1 month in my entire 36-year career that two things, if you just want to know me, I've never not been on smart ship, I was always my very own best customer, loving the products of the company that I was with. And I never missed a convention. I never missed a major event where I could learn and grow and learn from leaders ever in those 36 years. Never. So those are two things. The once or twice a year convention, never missed them. And I never was not on auto ship. I always had a backup credit card. So every company has a backup credit card so that if your expiration date changes, you never want to ever have to worry about your auto ship. And teach that in your group. Okay. So basically that as it starts to duplicate, 4 becomes 8, 8 becomes 16, 32, 128, 312, 5, was it 5 something, and so this is how I started, guys. So I'm 21 And it took me 90 days to get my first yes, because I was so bad at the beginning. And I think, not that I was just so bad. I think I was verbal vomiting to some degree. I'll be honest with you. Jeff had to reel me in. My mentor had to reel me in and said, "Mark, you talk too much. You're going to talk them right out of the business. Be careful. Let the tools do the work for you. Plug them in. Plug them into." We didn't have Zooms back then. We had three-way calls, and so Zoom's a powerful tool. My heavens, I wish I'd have had that back when I was 21. I mean, where you could actually see somebody and talk to them like you're, across the restaurant table or something. I mean, technology today is amazing. It was built for our business, but we would do three-way calls and what have you. And eventually, I realized that you never want to do this business alone. If you do it alone, you're probably going to be broke. You do it together as a team, collectively. There's going to be up days, down days, and you just always have to navigate every day and try to stay as up as you can. When you are up, then you cry down. If you're up in a happy mood and you've had success, you put that energy down into the group. If you're down and you're having a bad day and somebody's said, I call it a mean, ignorant no, and they hurt your feelings, cry up. Call Kim, George, Adrian, call me. Say, "Mark, I just had a bad day." Let us kind of help you walk off the cliff and understand that anyone that has had any level of success on this, we've had every level of mean no that you could possibly fathom. We've had hundreds of them, and they just go, "No big deal. Who's next?" It's a mentality. It's just the way it is. And so then what happened? So I'm going to go back. My first month, I got nobody. And it sucked. And I was told no quite a few times. My second month, I got nobody again. Now, again, I'm 21, naive, never done a business like this before. My third month, I got, it was about 40 days. So the second month, it was about 40 days before I got a yes. And the yes was the funniest thing, because understand, when I actually decided to do this business, my dad was not very nice to me. He actually said these words. Imagine your own dad saying this word: "Son, I can't believe you're doing a business like one of these pyramid deals." He says, "I thought I raised you better than this. You're such an embarrassment. This is just absolutely amazing. You would ever consider doing a business like this." Now I'm 21 and my dad said this to me. True story. And I'm just like, you only know what you know. And man, it was so hurtful. And again, I'm not seasoned. I'm not bulletproof. My dad just said that I'm doing a pyramid, one of these illegal deals. And he really thought I was going to go to jail or something. I mean, he just was so negative. And I'd already been told no so many times. So what do you think happened to me? What would you guys do if all of a sudden you've been told no for 40 days straight? A lot of mean no's. "Mark, you're crazy. You don't know what you're doing. These things don't work." I heard everything. And then to top it off, my dad: "Son, you're an embarrassment. I can't believe you do the business like this. I thought I raised you better." Those are his exact words. And I'm telling you what, I was deflated, and I went home. I was trying to hold back all the emotions, and I got home, and I just finally succumbed to the pressure of everything around me and said, "You know what? I'm going to quit. This is obviously not what I thought it was. It's too difficult. It's too hard." And so I made the decision I was going to quit. Now, there was one thing that I needed to do before I quit, and that the gentleman that I was talking about, my mentor, he had really invested a lot of time and energy with me. And so I thought, I'm going to at least be man enough to tell him that I'm going to quit and move on. I just didn't want to disappear. Don't get hit when people just disappear and you sponsor them and they're just gone, especially when you put a lot of time, effort into help them grow in their business. I didn't want to be that person. I thought, I'm going to at least be man enough and say, "Hey, I appreciate everything you've done for me, but I just can't do it. It's too hard. My dad, he doesn't have my back, And so I called him up and I just said, "Hey, look, I need to talk to you." He set up an appointment. I went and I did it in person. And I just sat there and I just started venting to him how it wasn't working. And as soon as I As soon as I said I was going to quit, it pays to have good mentorship, guys. It pays to have good leaders. As soon as I said, you know what? His name was Jeff. I said, Jeff, I'm going to quit. And he goes, oh, no, you're not. Oh, no, you're not. You're not going to quit. No, I'm not going to let you quit. You're better than that, Mark. You're not a quitter. That's not who you are. That's not your DNA. You're better than that. We're going to figure this thing out. So tell me what's really going on. And I said, what's really going on is I told him what my dad said. And he said, okay, Mark. He said, ouch. He says, that would hurt. No doubt about it, that would hurt. He says, Mark, here's my take on it. He says, I know your dad loves you. I know he means well. And all he wants you to do is win in life. He wants you to succeed in life. But let me ask you a question. I said, okay. He goes, does your dad have what you want, what you're chasing? I said, what do you mean? He says, does your dad live in the house, the kind of neighborhood that you want to live in? Does your dad drive the kind of car that you want to drive? Does your dad have, oh, by the way, you told me freedom because he had it in my notes. He's had in my notes. Does your dad have the freedom, the time freedom that was your hot button, Mark? Remember we started, you wanted freedom, right? Does your dad have that kind of freedom? Nope. And he went through and he asked me all these questions. It was no, 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 no. He says, well, Mark, what I've learned is success leaves clues. If your dad doesn't have what you want, maybe you need to find somebody that has what you want and hold on to their coattail and figure out and ask them what they did so you can find the success and the dreams that you're chasing. And it was an aha moment. This is my real story. It was an aha moment. I thought, you know what? It's true. My dad doesn't have what he wanted. It wasn't I disrespect my dad, but he didn't have what he wanted. My dad was broke. My dad was a poor plumber that he was a good man, but he was gone. I never saw him. And then when he was home, when there's always a neighborhood plumber, there's always somebody needs a neighborhood plumber. And my dad would always go and fix everybody's plumbing issues around the neighborhood. And he was still never home and he would never charge them a penny. And it used to make my mom so angry. He would just go and fix a neighbor's toilet for free or what have you. And he never made any money that way. And so we were always broke. My dad was a super nice guy, but he was a white collar worker, very nice guy, but he didn't understand anything of this kind of a business, So what happened is that was an aha moment where I told Jeff, I said, you know what, will you really, really work with me? I said, I really want to do it. And shortly after that, I think my attitude changed, my signal. Talk about how many of you guys have heard me say, how strong is your signal? Whoever signals stronger makes the sale. If your signal's weak, you're never going to move in this business. If your signal is contagious, like you hear mine today, you know what it takes to be, your signal's got to be strong. People have to know that you're committed. Okay. And so what happened is I think my signal got stronger. I think my commitment, my resolve got stronger. And then all of a sudden I found a guy through a referral that had just been laid off his job. And they said, you got to talk to this person. He just got laid off his job. And so now remember, I had not been told yes, not one time. Okay. So I called this person and basically I learned that, hey, my name is Mark Ewell. You don't know me directly, but we have a mutual friend in common. I said the friend's name, and I said, look, they said that you might be looking for something kind of, you're in between a career change. I chose my words really carefully and said, you might be looking for something. I'd love to show you something I'm really excited about. I think you can make some money. He said, sure. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I actually have an appointment. I turned around and called Jeff. I said, Jeff, I've got an appointment. Will you talk to him? Because I didn't know what the heck I was doing. And so Jeff said, sure. So he did a 3-way call with me. And guess what, folks? He actually said yes in the business. And so I got my first yes, but it didn't come with controversy, major controversy. So all of a sudden he says, yes, he wants to get started, but he didn't have a lot of money to get started because he'd just been laid off. So he was trying to find the means to get started. And guess what happened then? His wife said, oh, no, you're not going to do this business. He said, he had already tried a couple of these and he had failed miserably. So his wife stepped in and said, you're not going to do this. And so it became a contention in the household where he said, I am going to do this. And she says, oh, no, you're not. If you do this, I'm going to divorce you. And he says, well, you got to do what you got to do. I got to do what I got to do. And so if you divorce me, then you divorce me. And I was like, so he comes back and tells me his conversation at home. And I'm like, oh my gosh, Mark, you're now in the middle of ruining a marriage. And so now I'm trying to talk out my first yes. I'm like, no, it's not worth you losing your marriage. And I'm actually trying to talk my first yes into saying no now. That was my first yes. Because the last thing I want to do is be in the middle of a divorce situation where I caused the divorce. And I started feeling really guilty. And I'm like, His name is Steve. I said, Steve, you can't do this. I said, it's not worth ruining your marriage. He says, look, Mark, this is something I've had to deal with. My wife just is not very supportive. And so, you know what? If she, I can't be married to somebody that's always going to steal my dreams. He said, I may fail at this one, I may not. But he says, look, he says, in life, you got to go chase your dreams. And he says, you got to have fight. And he said, you know, I have failed twice, but he says, what if this is the one that I go and I succeed? And he said, I love everything. And he said, I think I can win in this business. And so he turned around and said, honey, you got to do what you got to do. And guess what? He turned around and did the business and she divorced him. Now, the funny thing about this is, guess what? He went on and made $1 million. So my first yes, my very first yes went on and made $1 million, but it almost was not a yes because I almost talked him out of it. True story. But then what happened is when I got my first yes, I all of a sudden became bulletproof. I thought if I got one yes, I can get another. So then I got my second yes, and my signal just started getting stronger and stronger. And I thought, well, if I can get 2 yes, I can get three, I can get 4. Well, in my very first company, over the course of 12 years, I got 380 yeses, give or take. So that's the process of my first 12 years is, but guess what? It all started with the power of 2. I had to get my first two yeses. My first yes didn't come till about 40 days into the business. And I think some of you guys might be in that situation where you haven't got a yes yet. Go back to the drawing board, get your list together. Don't do it alone. You've got tremendous support. You got great presentations. Get them on a presentation, effective follow-up, all these things. I mean, my talk is on the power of 2, but I will tell you that a year later in my business, a year later, I'll never forget when I looked at my back office 1 year later to the date, I had 2,212 people. I think it was 2,212 people in my business 12 months later, preaching till I die the power of 2. That's what I did. And then that business grew to 1 million people because I was absolutely resilient on, I taught, George, you know that. I taught the power of 2 like it was blue in the face. You get 2, they get 2. You get 2, they get 2. You get 2, they get 2. You don't get to quit. You get on SmartShip. You never quit. And I just preached that and preached that. That's what I'm doing again. I was talking to some leader. I said, you know, we got to go back to the basics. We got to just dummy this thing down. Go get your 2, help them get their 2, become your very own best customer, and never quit. Don't even think about quitting for 12 months. Don't even think about quitting for 12 months and see what happens. 2 will turn into 4. 4 will turn to 8. 8 will turn to 16, 32. Once you get your 2, don't pat yourself on the back, go get 2 more. And then you keep doing that until guess what? You get your 200, you get your list of 250, you go out and you get your 200 no's. And don't let no's bother you. You will get mean, ignorant no's. You always will. I've had 1 million of them. My dad was the worst one. But the funny thing, ironically, is my dad did not support me. I was making about probably 50,000 a month, and my dad had a massive heart attack. He had never supported me in the business, never. He thought I was going to go to jail. He really did. He thought I was going to prison. He thought I was doing something so illegal, and he never supported me. I would hear comments from other siblings. In fact, you know, being the only entrepreneur in my family, there are 10 of us. My family are they all went into finance, bankers. You know, they're successful, college educated, 100 to 200,000 a year. But the funny thing is I ended up quitting college because I started making more money than the professor. After a year, I thought, you know, I'm making 10,000 a month. I think I need to really go in full time. And so I never went back to school, never needed to. And so, you know, a few years into my business, I was now making about 50,000 a month. My dad has a massive heart attack, has no life insurance, has no way to pay bills or what have you. And I asked my mom, I said, what are you guys going to do? Because, you know, my dad was in the hospital and could not work. And she said, I don't know what we're going to do. Well, I said, Mom, don't worry about it. Whatever you need, I'll take care of it. So anyway, I just picked up the pieces. It took about 8 months before my dad could get back to work, and I had covered everything. Well, my dad was to understand that just kind of the family all contributed a little bit. Well, we asked the family to contribute as much as they could, but when we put all the other siblings together, they came up with $1,200. And so I kind of covered the difference. And my dad still was not very grateful and even after his heart attack, this is that defining moment. Some people are just stubborn. My dad was one of those stubborn ones. And he, uh, he ended up saying something pretty snide. And I told my mom, I said, if I do this, don't tell dad that just don't tell dad that I'm in helping. I said, and one day my dad said something pretty snide, and my mom just went after my dad. You know, you women. Sometimes when they cross the line, they cross the line. My mom, she ripped into my dad like you'd never. Oh my gosh, I felt sorry for my dad. And she said, "You would be bankrupt right now if it wasn't for your son. You'd be bankrupt. Why don't?" And she just laid into him. And it was the first time he realized that I'd been covering 90% of his expenses for the last 7, 8 months, or whatever it was. And it just all of a sudden humbled him to no accord. And anyway, he eventually reached out to me and apologized and said, "You know what? Let me learn about what it is you're doing." And it sometimes there's stubborn, but he finally went to one of my first conventions in Salt Lake City. There were probably 10,000 people in the convention center at the Salt Palace. A lot of you guys have been there. And he watched his son, go up on stage, as seeing the level of success I had, and it was very moving to him. And then at the end of the thing, he said, "How do I sign up?" So I did sign up. My stubborn dad, he was one of my yeses before this whole thing, but he had a second heart attack a couple years later, and we lost him. But he did actually help me in my business for a brief period of time. So you can't give up on people. Don't let the negative people be the naysayers that will discourage you. If there's anybody that should not have, and I'm being serious with what I had to go through, the level of pain and anguish that I dealt with at my early age of 21, it is a miracle I'm still here. It really is a miracle. And I contribute mentorship. I had an incredible mentor that really, I felt like he loved me. I felt like he cared about I felt like he cared about me. I felt like he was really vested in seeing me win and be successful. And it's the only reason why I stayed in the business. So be that kind of mentor. Be the kind of mentor that I had. Every one of you. Love your people, support them, help them win, because it is not easy. There are so many things that people are dealing with back at home, whether it be a spouse, whether it be whether it be just the support of a spouse, whether it be children that have issues, whether it be, we all live, it's the human condition. We all have struggles. Be that person, be that support, love your people, love them, meet them where they are, encourage them, love them. Don't babysit them. There's a fine line. You're going to have to figure out what that is. And our whole mantra, have a lot of fun, guys. Have a lot of fun. Let's bless some lives and let's make some money. And it all starts with going out and get your first two, helping them become their very own best customer, and move them along and duplicate and duplicate. With that, I think I'm done. I don't know if you guys do any question answers or after, but I don't even know how long I've gone. But anyway, George, I'll hand it back to you, buddy.
Great call. And by the way, a question that kept coming at the beginning is, what the person told you? And I paraphrase, but I want you to say it. What are you doing right now that could change the rest of your life, or something
Yeah,
like that?
he said after I asked all my questions, he turned around and asked me, he says, "Can I ask you a question?" I said, "Sure." He says, "What are you doing so great in your life that you can't take a chance on chasing your dreams, your future by doing a business like this? Mark, what if it works? What if this business works for you?"
Wow.
That is an awesome question. I love that. Love that. Love that. You are amazing, Mark. I love you so much. You are so inspirational. And it is so simple, the business. And I know you don't like to talk money, but because you were willing to go through all of that, I've heard rumors over the years that at one point in your life that you were making 600,000 a month. Is that true? I mean,
Yeah, that's true.
All right.
And it was all by 2x2. I've never
Uh-huh.
gotten away from 2x2. I've built 3 organizations, 3 different companies, over $1 million in every company. And yes, I got in early. Yes, I chose wisely. I chose good companies because I'm smart. I'm smart like that. This is another one. We're going to build another 1 million person downline. But in the 3 companies that I've done, doing the 2x2, 2x2, just preach, 2x2, 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 become your very own best customer, high retention, love your people, support them, meet them where they are. That will grow to 1 million people. It really will. And I've seen that happen in 3 companies, and all I did is the 2x2.
I think that's awesome. But I think the big thing here too, what you're saying is that you chose wisely the right companies and you were at the beginning of the new company. And aren't we all excited to be in 3 International? And we are on the ground floor of this company. So everyone on this team, if you just listen to what Mark said, was amazing. Remember that you need to get this recording to all your people, I think. I mean, that's what George has been really pounding into us, the power of 2 + 2, but not babysitting, and plucking out those 10 great leaders that will run and bring in, will be your master leaders within your tree. But I just think you're an amazing mentor to all of us, and thank you for being who you are, Mark. We so appreciate you.
Well, Christine, thank you so much. Love you. Appreciate all of you guys. Guys, have fun with it. It's time to really build. It's time to step it up and build,
Yeah.
and let's go crazy.
Yeah.
One comment,
anyway,
by the way.
I got to let somebody in real quick. You guys can continue. I got to let somebody in.
Okay. Something that I was going to say for you that want to listen to this again, I have the link on the right side of this live. Right now, if you go there now, you are going to see the last part of the live, but wait like 10, 15 minutes after we finish, and then you have the whole recording that you can share. You can share, I mean, with everybody. Yeah, Mark, I was saying that the link to your recording is already on the right side, because that's the link that you're going to have in YouTube to access the call that we have today, because it's live on YouTube right now, by the way.
Oh, okay. Well, if you can send me the links, we'll get them out. But yeah, this is the easiest way to do training, because what happens, we had like 40 people on, but if you pass this on to your 2 people, guess what? We're going to get them started the right way. Does that make sense? Get your 2 people on so that sometimes it's a little bit harder for you to kind of, relay the message that I just did, because you're still new, you're learning, you're swimming through this. But let me go ahead and kind of walk them through this process, because I've been there, I've lived it, not once, twice, 3 to 4 times. I've done this over and over and over again.
Yeah.
And so, get it out to your people. That's the fastest way to grow your team. Get it out.
Yes. Yeah, and I'm glad that you sent the message, because that's the message that we are being pounding in the different events. We just came back from Chicago, and that was the big message, the 2x2. And repeat the process and repeat the process. And that's the way. You don't have even to know the pay plan. Just bring 2, help them bring 2.
I tell people, don't even get complicated in the pay plan.
That's right.
Until you get like 20 or 30 in your downline, just do 2x2 until you get about 30. And then you can start, okay, how do I go 3-star? Just build. It just works out. The numbers just work out. Don't overcomplicate things.
Correct. Yeah, very, very inspiring, and very inspiring the conversation that you have. It's a question of consistency and persistency, and never give up. That's simple.
Yeah. There you go. All right, guys. Happy Monday. Happy Veterans Day. God bless.
Thank you, everybody.
Love you guys.